Good day to each and everyone. I'm KHENA REDUBLA from BSed English 2B, and our topic for today is all about the introduction and literature teaching. Are you ready to listen? So let's start. So we have here our learning objective. At the end of the lesson, the student should be able to identify the collected essays on best practices in teaching literature in the classroom, analyze works of literature from different authors, and to inspire a love for and joy in reading literature. We will start now our discussion. Perhaps one description of paradise for the lover of books and reading is to be in the presence of those who love them as well. Indeed, Father Joseph A. Galdon, Society of Jesus, and Dr. Edna Manlapas created this kind of paradise in many a classroom where a young student once sat and is now perhaps a teacher of literature as well. Imagine the enduring inspiration these two beloved mentors passed into a generation of teachers and formators. Learning begins with wonder. So goes one treasured piece of advice from Father Galdon to a young teacher who has lived by it all these years. She remembers how Father Galdon enthused in her idea that every lesson should make students wonder about something and make them want to have answers that they can get on their own. Likewise, a wide-eyed and bedazzled young student sat in Edna Manlapas' literature classroom and anticipated her completion of phrases, keywords or concepts, diagrams and incomplete drawings on the blackboard. It made me how see it is literally constructed, the student recalls. Indeed, what is remembered of Father Galdon and Edna Manlapas' literature classes are the fun and funny, engaging and endearing ways they brought the printed word to life and wonder in the classroom. In their lessons, breathed a passion and energy that moved imagination and memory. The collection of essays on best practices in teaching literature in the classroom hopes to inspire this sense of passion and wonder as informed by principle and discipline. Each essay prods one to rethink and reconsider what is taught and how it is taught to fulfill the most desired end, to inspire a love for and joy in reading literature. The collection begins with Doreen Fernandez and her article on harnessing the power of Philippine culture as a teaching tool in the classroom. Indeed, it is a relevant way to begin the process of rediscovering and re-evaluating traditional notions of teaching literature. As Father Galdon said, begin where it's at. Hence, by situating the classroom in local context, discussing the place of superstition in local culture, enlivens a discussion of Nick Joaquin's May Day Eve. However, it is not limited to text written in English by Filipinos. Fernandez shows how the teacher may also situate, for example, the science fiction of Bradbury in the Veldt to interrogate our cultural notions of parent-child relationships. Indeed, the creativity of the languages of literature makes it possible for reader and learner to cross cultures and find connections and similarities. Hence, the next article by Rosalia Paison de la Cruz is an effective way to understand the interrogation of language and literature. Just as Fernandez urged the teachers to use Philippine culture as resource, so thus Paison de la Cruz demonstrates literature as a tool for learning other skills. The article shows a sample lesson on teaching the classic Ozymandias by Percy B. Shelley and how a teacher can aid students appreciate and understand its form and content. The next article by Ron Darwin, however, is a compelling look at what makes a classic. Just when we think we understand what we need to teach a classic poem such as Ozymandias in the previous article, Darwin interrogates how classics are deemed as such and why it would be the best practice to question the literature we choose to teach in the classroom in terms of what it says and how it says it. Darwin asserts that this kind of informed mindset of the literature teacher allows the articulation of conflicted and dissident ideas. A significant feature indeed of a stimulating reading and learning environment. Similarly, Judy Ike raises the need to rethink the uncritical reverence both students and teachers seem to have for texts such as those of Shakespeare. She describes in her article how she prompts her student to reimagine this place in Philippine contemporary settings so that the more compelling questions become, what does Shakespeare mean for us? Consequently, this framework allows space in the classroom for such engaging activities as exploring production concepts that may speak more to this generation of students. How Ms. Ikes provoked her students to redefine Shakespeare into more familiar and relevant contexts that involve tasks such as creating production concepts bring to mind Guillermo M. Pesigan's article on accommodating intertextuality as a pedagogical tool. Pesigans illustrate how literature engages with other forms of literature, art, and media such as its theme validates its relevance to society, politics, economics, and ideology. The next sets of reading by Mary Jennifer J.Q., Maria Teresa Tenyo, and Margarita R. Orandain also engage politics and ideology by questioning how society positions men and women through the lens of fiction and poetry. Indeed, the points that this article make on the relevance of nurturing gender sensitivity in the literature classroom, challenging stereotype representation of women in text, and listening to voices that may not be often heard in the din of our everyday lives prods to us too. What Tenyo so eloquently asserts make literature a loving, living, and liberative experience for our students. In a similar vein, Danton Rimuto's article, which features a plan for teaching a Philippine poem in English, makes a case for viewing literature as an art to be enjoyed and a lesson from which one learns a myriad of social and political realities that rightfully demand attention. It also raises critical awareness and appreciation for the craft and creativity of English in our local context. But what would all this planning do if the learners in the classroom feel distant from the pleasures and strategies of reading? Margarita Felipe Fajardo's article provides a relevant profile of the resistant adolescent reader and creative suggestions for purposeful tasks that may make reading a more pleasurable and productive enterprise. Finally, Rafael A. Aquinas' article on how to use the ubiquitous internet and other multimedia resources to teach literature completes this collection of best practices. Just as Doreen Fernandez's essays begins the collection with a sense of awareness for where we are as teachers of literature, Aquinas' article emphasizes teaching in these times when information may be had in a nanosecond. Certainly, the world in the classroom just met the world that is outside. Hence, the bookend of this collection asserts that technology is no enemy for the printed word. It is worth to be used for literature to be relevant to the young. Indeed, this and all the articles presented in this section resonate with what Father Galdon always opposed. Everything done in the classroom is done with a purpose. They also follow the example of one inspiring Edna Manlapas who thought tirelessly with method and passion. The wisdom imparted in each one is there for the taking. It will naturally be reshaped again and again according to the many contexts and those whose hands, minds, and hearts help shape the future, and according to the context of those who will be shaped in turn. Here now, paradise awaits. So that's all for our discussion. We have this post-test, and the direction is to identify the different authors described in every article. So that's all for today. Thank you for listening. Happy learning and God bless.